Now, if you were to ask me if I wanted the Winnipeg Jets to take a defenseman, even 4 months ago maybe, I would have laughed in your face and said that that could be the absolute stupidest thing the Jets could do at the time. And honestly, I thought that for a long time, and honestly up until this week, really, I still believe that. I thought that although you never can have too many great defensive prospects, I just felt like the Winnipeg Jets already had that, extra edge of defensive prospects. Dylan Sandberg being just signed to his entry level. Ville Heinola showing so much promise in the 12 games he showed and in the other stuff. Logan Stanley potentially being that impactful player one day. Declan Chisholm, another amazing potential game-changing defenseman the Jets have in their prospect system. Just overall tons of different prospects who I am very, very, very high on in our system, who I really think have a lot of potential. So why would we want to draft another guy into that system? Because there is another player who we could really get, who could really just elevate our defense to make it one of the best young defensive cores in the league. And that player who I'm talking about is Jake Sanderson of the U.S. National Under-17 team. Or the development league, I guess. It's not really a team, it's a development team thing. You know what it is, exactly. It doesn't matter. Point being is that I think that Jake Sanderson could actually really be an impactful player for the Jets. Now, overall, would I want Jake Sanderson as my first choice? No, I don't. And that's nothing against his game. Just because I still to this day, I'm not that high on a defenseman being taken in this year's draft. I feel like we can address the defensive needs with our prospects coming up in the system and in free agency. And I just think that, adding a defenseman who won't be ready maybe for another 2 to 3 years isn't really the big thing that the Jets need to focus on. But Jake Sanderson's just a guy who is just got a lot of potential, I feel like, who I would be okay if the Jets picked. I wouldn't be happy, but I want to talk about it because there is a chance that Jake Sanderson gets picked. And I want to kind of not calm down Jets fans before it possibly even happens, because although it's not the move we probably want to see being made, it's not a terrible move because Jake Sanderson has a lot of upside. If you look at his for last year, I guess, and this year in the U.S. League, in 19 games, he had 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points as a defenseman. That's pretty good for 19 games, in a 17 league, but that's not really matter. You don't really look at points in that because it's such a low amount of games, like what are you going to really grade it as? You want to take it and look at it, yes, plus minus is a better stat. That's something I would maybe look at as a +6. That's not bad, right? That's something that's improvement compared to what he was before, even though plus minus is that kind of weird dead stat that a lot of people don't like. Doesn't matter in the fact that that's something that you could look at in his basic stat and see that, okay, he's not a bad defenseman. Anyways, moving on from that, his NHL comparisons, ironically, are Josh Morrissey to start, Cam Fowler, and Ryan McDonough. All pretty solid two-way defenders in their own right. When you look at his draft description and what he's been described as, he's a smooth skating, poised offensive defender with a 4-way skating ability and a high skill set. Combines size and skill and strong shot, and is rounding out as a 200-foot defender, something that the Jets desperately need after losing Byfuglien. So just off of that alone, Jake Sanderson does excite me as a project defenseman for the Jets. The only issue coming into again is that do I think that he could be a better project defenseman than what we already have? And that's kind of where I get into addressing it, is that although I would be okay with him being on in our prospect pool because he's a good overall player, I wouldn't want to see him in it because of what we already have. And let me explain why. If you look at Dylan Sandberg and what his game is and what he's getting compared to, in my opinion, he's honestly almost identical to what Jake Sanderson is. Look at Ville Heinola, another two-way defensive, 200-foot center with passing, with vision, who moves the puck well, with poise, with a good shot, offensive ability, and reads the play very well. Logan Stanley, who we don't really know what to expect from, but is most likely going to be a defensive defenseman who's a hard-hitting guy. But then you look at what Declan Chisholm is. If Declan Chisholm actually pans out as a prospect for us, he could be one of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL. So, that's a big if and everything like that, but he really could be. If you look at Declan Chisholm's stats and what he could be, and that we already have him signed on his entry-level deal, why would we look at taking a guy like Jake Sanderson, who is kind of already fits in with what we already have in our defensive system? And that's kind of where I've been looking at it. Now, everything I've said about Jake Sanderson does not make me not want to have him on the team. I've already made that very clear. But what the issue with Sanderson is that if you would want the Jets to be a competitive team and win a cup, which I think any fan would realistically say, regardless of how you want the team to be built, is that you want them to win a cup now. That's obvious, right? Jake Sanderson is not going to help the Jets win a cup now. 3 years from now, 4 years from now, he could be one of the best defenders in the league. You never know what could happen, right? But because we already have so many defensive projects in the system that are already probably going to be coming up next year, like Ville Heinola, and honestly even probably like Dylan Sandberg, why bring in another guy when you have other prospects there as well? I don't really see the point to it. Now, yeah, Jake Sanderson is a guy who I think would be good, but all these like links and draft sites and all this stuff making it sound like, oh, Sanderson's pretty going to be going to the Jets, or it looks like Sanderson would be a perfect fit on the Jets. I don't see it. Now, yeah, he's a great player, would probably be a great fit on the Jets, but again, why would you want to take another defenseman who shoots left? When you look at, like, I don't want to sound like it, but Dylan Sandberg and Ville Heinola and even Logan Stanley are all left-handed defensemen in the system already. You're going to add another left-handed defenseman? Okay. Like, there's a lot of players that the Jets have that are just not going to, like, it's just competitive, and I don't see adding another top defenseman to a pool with to have three other potentially game-changing, lineup-changing defensemen who are all left-handed and have them all fighting for roster time when you're trying to be a competitive team. I just don't see that being a smart decision for the Jets. To me, it just seems like Jake Sanderson would maybe get a little bit of playing time here and there and probably honestly be traded before ever being properly used, because I just don't see him being that type of guy. Now, maybe that's just my opinion on it, and everyone else disagrees with me, and that's a Jets fan, and they'd love to see Jake Sanderson. I just don't see. Honestly, I would rather see the Jets go out and sign Travis Hamonic in the free agency class, or any other free agent defenseman who I think is competent as a two-way level guy, and bring him into the team and have that, and replace Dmitry Kulikov, and then bring in Declan Chisholm, and then possibly bring in Ville Heinola with Neil Pionk and Josh Morrissey. You've already got Tucker Pullman, who could be a really good player there, and you've already got the other players, like I said, in the prospect system coming up and trying to fight for those spots. So I just don't see Jake Sanderson having a spot on the Jets' blue line for a while when I really look at their build of what they're going for. Josh Morrissey isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Hopefully neither is Neil Pionk. Tucker Pullman made great leaps last year and is starting to develop into, I think, a top 4 defenseman. If not, definitely a top 6 for sure, and not a 7th guy. Definitely a staple, everyday player for a blue line. And then you have other guys like, Sandberg, who is probably going to make the team next year regardless, because that was probably one of his conditions of him signing. I just think that there's just no way that the Jets take a defenseman like Sanderson. I don't think it happens, Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't get why you would go out and take a defenseman who is basically almost a little bit better than what you already have in the system that is already almost ready to make an impact now. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Would you want to see Jake Sanderson on the Jets? Like, do you think it even makes sense? Yeah, I think that he's a great player, but I don't think it's a sensible pick for the Jets to make for their future. I don't think it makes it different for them in 3 years. I don't think adding Sanderson to a lineup that already could potentially have young, impactful defensemen makes that much of a difference when you have a guy like Josh Morrissey and Neil Pionk. Remember, you only have 3 pairs on their defense. How many players are on each pair? That 2 is a pair? Do the math. You can't fit all these guys on your roster and on your team. So you just, at one point, you need to really make a decision with your defense on what direction you're going with. And I think the Jets kind of have. And I think after this year, with what they add in free agency, we will know their path for the future. And I don't think Jake Sanderson is on the radar for the Jets. I really don't. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel and you found it browsing around and you liked the video, definitely consider dropping a subscription. It means a lot to me. I definitely appreciate all the support you guys have been showing the channel. It really does mean a lot, so thank you. And with that being said, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.